Now, therefore, after considering the evidence admitted during the bench trial, the parties' arguments, and the applicable law, the court finds as follows. As to count 1, malice murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 2, malice murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 3, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 4, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 5, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 6, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 7, home invasion, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 8, aggravated assault, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 9, aggravated assault, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 10, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 11, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 12, cruelty to children in the second degree, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 13, tampering with evidence, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. This 20th day of November 2025, signed and affixed with my signature, Judge Sonia N. Brown. Would you all like to take a look at the form?
No, Your Honor.
Right, Madam Clerk, if you would please enter this non-jury judgment after bench trial into the record of the court. All right, I will hear from the state of the defense regarding sentencing.
Your Honor, we have talked, I know that the state has quite a large number of people that want to speak. I think it probably would be wise to start that in the morning, so we can get through with it tomorrow.
State.
We don't have any objection to that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we will stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, in which time both the state and the defense will have an opportunity to present arguments and any statements from any victim impact statements or statements in mitigation on behalf of Mr. Lanz.
Thank you, Judge.
Right? We'll stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Oh, wait, please. Court is still in session.
Your Honor, just for the record, and I apologize for not putting this on the record prior, but as for your deliberations, the following exhibits were not provided to Your Honor. That was State's Exhibit 670, an ATF crime log report, State's 671, another ATF lab report, State's 917, which was the Google search history, State's 607, which was the ZevTech OZ9 of the defendant's gun. State's Exhibit 468 was not an exhibit. It was never tendered, it wasn't missed, it just was never, that number was never used. And then finally, of course, we did not provide Your Honor with Master Drive A, which contains State's Exhibits 5, 7, 460, 462, 463, 464, 465, 466, 467, 469, 470, 471, 472, 473, 474, 481, 685, and 686. Thank you.
We agree with that.
Right, and all the evidence has been brought and placed back in court.
Thank you so much.
Right, we'll stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Deputies, we do have a status hearing. Well, Floyd.
Well, just hours ago, a Cobb County judge found Matthew Lanz guilty on all 13 counts for the 2021 murder of a young Acworth couple. So Judge Sonia Brown says that she saw enough evidence at the trial this week to convince Lanz for breaking into a home, the home of Amber and Justin Hicks, shooting them to death and leaving their 2-year-old son Jacob alone for hours to wonder why his parents would not wake up. 11 Alive's Grace King explains how that verdict unfolded.
This was a bench trial, which means the judge had to decide innocence or guilt, not the jurors. She took just an hour and a half after an emotional closing arguments.
It's hard to imagine the murder of Amber and Justin Hicks through the eyes of their 2-year-old son.
He played with the very bullet that robbed him of his mother.
Prosecutors say Matthew Lanz broke into the Hicks home around 10 p.m. on November 17, 2021, and shot the childhood sweethearts to death. That left little Jacob alone without food, water, or a diaper change for almost 12 hours.
Your Honor, Jacob cuddled with his dead parents. He cuddled with his dead parents. They were dead in his house.
Prosecutors wrapped up their case by reviewing evidence from the murder scene and Lanz's actions in the weeks leading up to it.
And on October 29th of 2021, he's Googling, do heads really explode as portrayed in Pulp Fiction? Does 308 explode a human head?
But Lanz's attorney, Jimmy Berry, argued too much of the state's evidence is circumstantial.
They didn't find anything that would tie Matthew to being inside that house.
Berry opted not to present any evidence of their own.
No comment.
He also didn't explain his opening statements, where he said Lanz believed he was set up by the FBI, CIA, or some other government agency for this crime.
We can simply ask the court to look at all the evidence in the case. I know the court will.
Again, the judge found Lanz guilty on every single count. He did not show any emotion as the verdict was read, but you could see family members of the Hicks hugging and clapping. Many of them are expected to speak here tomorrow at Lanz's sentencing. In Cobb County, Grace King, 11 Alive News.